I was a woman dying from a terminal illness. But to the man I loved, I was nothing. Even when I was alone in a hospital bed, begging for help, he was too busy fooling around with someone else. Jason Smith said flatly, "If you need a man so badly, go find the father of the child you're carrying." Filing for divorce was just the easiest route. If he truly wanted it, he didn't need Latina Mara's consent. Latina Mara instinctively placed a hand over her belly. Her eyes instantly filled with tears as she sobbed, "Jason, I'll get rid of it right away. I don't even know who the man was. I was just drunk and made a mistake." "You ignored me. I was too lonely." Jason Smith rubbed his throbbing temples. Not only did he feel indifferent, couldn't even remember why he'd ever chosen this woman over Julia Lopez. God, how he wished he could go back and smack that foolish version of himself awake. That's it. At least keep some dignity. Jason Smith waved her off, not even bothering to say more. Latina Mara knew Jason Smith's temper. She didn't dare argue. Deep down, she cursed her big-mouthed mother she had planned to quietly get the abortion. Who knew her mom would spill it? Still, knowing Jason Smith, he wouldn't divorce her over this, as long as she was still useful to Julia Lopez. The only possibility was something went wrong on Julia Lopez's end. Could it be? The bone marrow transplant failed. Was Julia Lopez beyond saving now? The more Latina Mara thought about it, the more likely it seemed. After all that, Julia Lopez still couldn't survive? Bro. Just then, a tall, bespectacled young man walked in. Seeing Latina Mara inside, he froze, then widened his eyes in shock. "It's you?" Latina Mara nearly popped her eyeballs. Wasn't this the guy from her one-night stand? Back then, he looked like a shy bumpkin who'd never been to a nightclub. Reminded her a bit of Jason Smith. That's why she hooked up with him. He was adorably awkward, had no clue what he was doing in bed. And now, she was seeing him again at Jason Smith's place. He'd called him bro, and there was a clear resemblance. Latina Mara's eyes glinted. She stepped forward and, under the boy's flustered gaze, hooked her arm through his. "I don't even know your name." "I'm Kyle Smith." His face turned red, mind in a fog. How did he run into the woman he hadn't stopped thinking about? Who was she? "I'm Latina Mara, your sister-in-law." Latina Mara smiled sweetly, feeling fully in control. "Jason, this is the father of the baby I'm carrying." Jason Smith's face darkened instantly. One look at Kyle Smith's reaction told him the truth. Damn this world. Why is it so small? "Sister-in-law?" Kyle Smith froze, stammering. "Bro, I didn't know. I swear. What happened to Sister Julia Lopez?" His face turned bright red, panic rising in his throat. Jason Smith wanted to punch this idiot. Came back from abroad and this is what he does? His phone rang. It was his mother. Her cheerful voice came through the speaker, loud enough for all three to hear. Jason's mother had always lived back in their hometown. Even after Jason Smith made it big, she just bought a big house nearby and never moved to the city. Because Jason Smith couldn't bear to let Julia Lopez suffer even the slightest, and knew the eternal tension between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. His mother never liked that. She thought he'd forgotten his roots after marrying. What upset her even more was that Julia Lopez hadn't gotten pregnant. Latina Mara, on the other hand, had been oh-so-obedient ever since marrying Jason Smith. She knew how to butter up Jason's mom. Even lied that Julia Lopez had caused her to miscarry before earning more sympathy and making Julia Lopez look even worse. Jason's mom now doted on her, urging her to rest and give the Jason family an heir soon. This time, Latina Mara's mother, who couldn't wait to announce her daughter's pregnancy to the whole world, naturally passed the good news to her in-laws as well. "If you don't believe me, we can do a DNA test after the baby is born," Latina Mara said, ignoring how Jason Smith's face was turning darker by the second. In her mind, she was holding the ultimate trump card. Jason Smith hung up the phone and shot a sharp glare at Kyle Smith. "Feeling proud of yourself now?" he said coldly. Kyle Smith shrank back instinctively. He'd always been a little afraid of his older brother, and now Jason Smith's intimidating Jason presence was making it hard for him to breathe. "Jason, even if I want to abort it, your mom would never allow it. Besides, this baby is your Nephewit, still a part of the Jason family's bloodline." Latina Mara smugly patted her belly, treated Jason it like both her shield and sword. Jason Smith had no choice but to accept it. Kyle Smith, finally realized he was going to be a father. He stared at Latina Mera's belly with sparkling eyes. Despite the guilt of betraying his brother, he felt a subtle sense of joy. He had a bond now with the woman he liked. He wasn't ready to be a dad, but part of him had started to look forward to the baby. Jason Smith, seeing through his naive little brother's thoughts, sighed deeply in his heart. He himself could no longer have children, might as well leave an heir for the Jason family this way. It'd keep their mother from nagging, too. Whatever. Jason Smith loosened his tie, trying to ease the suffocation in his chest. He booked the earliest flight available, even if it was economy class. He didn't care. He folded his long legs uncomfortably, just wanted Jason to see Julia Lopez as soon as possible. Seeing how urgently Jason Smith left, Latina Mera immediately sent someone to follow him and then booked herself the next flight out. She still couldn't let go. If she couldn't have this man, then neither could Julia Lopez. Especially when Julia Lopez was about to die. Why not go see for herself? Lately, Julia Lopez's condition had been stable. Her cheerful mood was helping, and most of that cheer came from Coco. Tony Kamel even considered adopt Jason more cats to keep her spirits up. They didn't find more cats, but they did come across a yellow mutt with a black snout being sold at a roadside stall. The shop owner had planned to raise it for meat, but Julia Lopez couldn't bear to leave it after seeing those wet, soulful eyes. She saved it from becoming someone's dinner. Julia Lopez named the mutt. Brady Tony Kamel was thrilled. She had a way of casually saying the sweetest things. Tony Kamel had started working at a hospital nearby, but only because Julia Lopez insisted he go. She didn't want him watching over her 24/7. It made her feel useless. Still, Tony Kamel installed surveillance cameras all over the house and gave her a customized wristwatch that could send a distress signal with one press. Julia Lopez hooked leashes on both pets, ready to take them for a walk. Coco, being an orange tabby, had quickly plumped up. Upon first meeting Jason Brady, they'd already established dominance. Coco was the boss. So far, they were get Jason along. Though just a village mutt, Brady was clever, never peed or pooped in the house, and would even squat and signal Julia Lopez when it needed to go. Julia Lopez smiled as she laid out a newspaper, holding her breath. Smelling the scent, Coco was already growling, ready to attack Brady. Once the deed was done, Julia Lopez wrapped the newspaper and threw it in the trash, exhaling softly. After walking a bit, Coco happily climbed a tree while Brady spun in circles below. Julia Lopez captured the moment on her phone and sent it to Tony Kamel. Over time, she'd gotten to know her neighbors. They were used to seeing her walk a yellow cat and dog every day. Julia, why are you get Jason skinnier? Your face is pale as paper. Young people shouldn't starve themselves for beauty. It's not good for your health. You need to eat better. Come over to my place later. I made goji berry pork rib soup and angelica eggs. I'll pack 2 bowls for you. Julia Lopez smiled so brightly her eyes curved into crescents. Thank you, Uncle Chi and Aunt Chi. She reached the beach, where it was quiet and deserted. Let Jason go of the leashes. She let the 2 pets run free while she sat in the sand. That's when Tony Kamel's video call came in. As soon as the call connected, Tony Kamel saw Julia Lopez holding her hat against the wind. She grumbled. Bad planning. The wind's too strong today and this hat doesn't fit tight enough. I'll sew straps on all your hats when I get back. Tony Kamel chuckled. Maybe it was because his hands were used to holding scalpels, but Julia Lopez was both amused and amazed at how neatly Tony Kamel could sew on a button. He was even better than her at needlework. When she taught him how to knit, he picked it up fast, and his stitches were perfect. Who knew little Tony was such a homemaker? I really hit the jackpot, Julia Lopez said gleefully, happily embracing a life of leisure. Then do you think little Tony is ready to be married off? Under the soft light, Tony Kamel's gentle features lit up, his gaze a whirlpool pulling her in. Julia Lopez simply leaned her head on his broad shoulder, savoring the peace of the moment. After the usual questions about how she was feeling and what she wanted for dinner, Tony Kamel reluctantly ended the call, already looking forward to clocking out. He had one condition for working at this hospital: strict 9 to 5 hours, with all surgeries scheduled within that window. Truthfully, he hadn't planned on working at all. Julia Lopez had insisted. It's not like he couldn't afford to take care of her and their kids. Coco and Brady cat and dog combo. Total life goals. The young nurses nearby stole glances at him. Ever since Tony Kamel arrived, he had become the undisputed heartthrob of the hospital. The only weird thing was how he would suddenly break into a goofy smile for no reason. After hanging up, Julia Lopez turned to check on her two pets and froze. Brady was gone. Only Coco was there, growling fiercely at the waves. "Brady! Brady!" she called out, panic rising as she ran toward the water. She heard faint howling, then spotted a yellow blur struggling in the waves. Brady must have been playing too close to the surf and got swept away by a wave. Without thinking, Julia Lopez was about to charge into the water when a hand grabbed her. "Julia," she froze. She hadn't expected to see Jason Smith here. "Let go of me. Brady," she struggled. "Don't worry, I'll get him," Jason Smith said, heart aching. Up close, she looked even thinner and more frail than before, and she had said, "Brady." Jason Smith knew those two pets' names. Every time he heard them, it was like a stab to the heart. They made Julia Lopez and Tony Kamel sound like a happy family. He'd had so many chances she could have had his own Jason Coco and Jason Brady. No time to think. He dashed into the water toward the crying puppy. Julia Lopez pulled off her shawl, wrapped the shivering, terrified Brady in it, and held him close. Tears streamed down her face. Just a little more, and he would have gone before her. She couldn't bear that. With Coco on a leash and Brady in her arms, Julia Lopez hurried to the road to hail a ride to the animal hospital. "Julia!" Jason Smith called out hoarsely. Except for the initial shock, once the dog was rescued, Julia Lopez hadn't looked at him again. The cold wind whipped against his wet clothes, but Jason Smith felt nothing. "Why are you here?" Julia Lopez asked, rubbing Brady to keep him warm. I missed you." Jason Smith stared at her, unwilling to look away even for a second. His eyes overflowed with longing. Finally burrs Jason through. Ever since she left, his days had dragged by like years. Photos and videos meant nothing. Seeing the real Julia Lopez again only now, did Jason Smith feel alive.